So guys, it is raining in Texas. It is cold. It's been cold. And you've probably been wondering, Chris, what have you been doing? Well, because it's been so cold, I haven't been able to do a whole lot of projects in the garage because it's just freezing. But I still have been keeping myself busy. And I've been working on my very own 3D model Proton Pack shell that a lot of you guys have been seeing in the community posts. So I just kind of wanted to share with you what I've been doing, why I've been doing it, how I've been doing it. So let's get into it, guys. So the base of the model was mostly built in Tinkercad, and then I brought it into Fusion 360 to add in all the fillets. Now, if you don't know what a fillet is, Tinkercad is not very good at adding fillets. There are some workarounds for it, but Fusion 360 does the fillets really well. If you're new to 3D modeling and you don't know what a fillet is, it's basically just rounding off the edges, and there was tons of areas on this shell that needed to be rounded off in order to give kind of a seamless effect and an organic effect to what you see on the original Proton Pack shell. But this isn't where it ended. This is just the middle ground. This is, again, just still giving me a base so then I could further export this into a sculpting software and make it even more organic. So this is the software, my sculpting software, where I really take the shell to the next level and make it more organic and less parametric. Now, when I say parametric, I know it's a fancy word. It's just making the sharp edges less sharp and more rounded and softer to what you see on the actual screen used hero packs. Now, that was my goal when I set out to do this, is I wanted to take a shell that you see in person that has those soft edges and recreate the same shapes, the same soft edges, the same angles, and bring that into the digital space or the 3D world. That was very important to me. There's a lot of 3D models out there, and some of them are really, really good and great for what they try to achieve, but they just don't have the same replication to what you see in the real world, and that's what I really set out to do with this model. One thing I really wanted to do was to replicate the box shapes on the crank gen, the gun mount, and the power cell, and what I mean by that is recreating the angles that are seen on those boxes and the crooked ribs. That was very important to me. It was kind of a pain trying to go measurement for measurement with a screen used shell to match it, especially in 3D modeling software, because you have your XYZ, you don't have XYZ ABC, you know, you have those three angles that you have to work those measurements into, and it's not as easy as you think it would be. But yeah, guys, this is it. I was able to replicate a lot of the box shapes, crooked ribs, soft edges. I know I'm probably repeating myself by now, but I'm very proud of this because I don't think it's been done yet. And this is just, unfortunately, kind of where props is going, guys. I mean, there's still going to be people, there's going to be that hardcore niche group that's going to want a fiberglass shell because that is what's accurate to the movie. But in terms of ease, price point, the direction it's going, guys, is 3D printing because it's just so much cheaper. So what if I brought my shell from the real world into the digital space where someone could print this and have pretty much the exact same shell to a degree, you know, and be able to print as many as they would like. So that's the direction where a lot of props is going, is 3D printing. Movie studios are already using the technology, and that was what I set out to do, was just to make my own shell in the digital space and to make it really good. One detail I captured here on the top of the crank gen was that chamfered edge at the top that runs across it. I also added the layer lines to the booster box here, or booster spacer box, whatever you want to call it. The power cell here with the crooked ribs, that was very important to replicate. And also the shape of that box was very difficult to do because it's angled. And whenever something's angled, you have to match the measurements from the top and the bottom. And I know it's kind of hard to explain it, but it's very, very, very hard. And there's the EDA box there. That also has an angle to it that I added in. And you could see the cyclotron layer line that I added in as well. That chamfered edge there, right there where the beam line and the filler tube go. I added that in. I added in the uneven measurements on the clippered spacer on the sync gen. Another detail I'm really proud of here, let me adjust it here, is the gun mount box. I was able to make it crooked like what's seen on the screen use packs. So yeah, that gun mount is crooked. I really tried to get all those nice soft edges on the gun mount and not make it look as sharp as it usually looks on a 3D model. I was able to get the correct angles to the gun mount, top and bottom. And I also believe the inside of the gun mount is also angled inward. Yeah, that box was a pain. A lot of these shapes, just the gun mount and the power cell alone, the crank gen, they took me countless hours, guys, even days to try to replicate. Even on the crank gen there, the bottom box is about an 1/8 inch smaller than the top box. That was a detail that was also replicated. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't look like much, but many hours were spent trying my best to replicate what you see on the screen use packs. This was a detail I really struggled with, is this bottom chamfer on the crank gen rib, the bottom crank gen rib here, and the uneven spacing between the ribs. That was not very easy, but I was able to replicate it just like the screen use packs. The crank gen is a very important piece to me on the Proton Pack shell. To me, it's like the heart of the shell. If that looks right, I feel like everything else can fall into place. So a lot of my time was spent on this crank gen, getting the edges right, the fillets right, the spacing right, etc., etc. Now, I could have done the shell in a bunch of different pieces and made it super convenient for your print beds, but if I did that, it would have lost the seamlessness that I was trying to achieve when building the shell. When I say seamlessness, I mean the way all the parts attach to one another. You would lose like these rounded soft edges as you see here at the top of the crank gen and the booster box. I didn't want to lose that. So yeah, you might have to cut this shell up into a few pieces. For me, I only have to cut it up into 2 because I have pretty large print beds. I have a CR10 Max and an Elegoo Neptune Max, so it's not going to really be much of a problem. I'll just glue those 2 pieces together and then fill in that seam, and then it's still going to have that seamless effect that I'm looking for on the shell. So guys, I'm here because I really want to test print it and see how it prints. I have the theory that if it prints well small, it'll print well big. So let's see how it looks small. Let's see how the details are captured with a smaller scale model. And that'll let me know if it works or not, because I don't know yet. So we're going to find out together, guys. So here is the first test print of my Proton Pack shell. And from what I can tell, it looks incredible, but the lighting's not that great in here. I'm going to take it off the bed, and then we're really going to see what it looks like. You can see here I had to print with quite a bit of supports. Like I said, I don't really know what can be printed with or without supports. That'll take some experimentation, but just to be safe, I tried to print it with supports and make sure it came out the way that I wanted it to. But on the front, it looks absolutely perfect. So let me just remove these supports real quick and let's see what it looks like. There is the P. Chris Bosch 1 GB1 Hero Shell 3D model, and it just looks incredible, guys. This is why I love 3D printing. It's so rewarding, is the fact that you can create something and then just throw it on the 3D printer, and there you go. I couldn't be more happy with the 3D model. It captured the details amazing for as small a scale as I printed it in. And yeah, I'm happy with it, guys. It looks amazing. I will post a link for my Etsy store if you guys are interested in purchasing. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. We're on to the next one. Even the inside looks good, guys. Awesome.